Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest players of all time. Not only will he go down as one of the all-time greats, but what you might not know is that he'll go down in history as one of the hardest workers the game has ever seen. His thought process behind how hard he works is very interesting. Let's hear what he has to say.
So talk about that.
Okay, so if your job is to try to be the best basketball player you can be, right? To do that, you have to practice, you have to train. Right? You want to train as much as you can, as often as you can. So if you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 11, right? 12, say 12, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2. You have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You get back out, you train, start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, right? And now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, do it again, right? Those are 2 sessions. Right? Now imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4, you go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, blah, blah, blah. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, right? Relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4, right? And so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And by year 5 or 6, doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up because you're 5 years behind. Right? So it makes sense to get up and start your day early because you can get more work in.
Is that genetic? Or is that something you ingrained and trained yourself?
No, it was
Who
just
taught you that?
For me, it was just common sense. Like I can if I start earlier, I can train more hours, and I know the other guys aren't doing it because I know what their training schedule is. Right? So I know if I do this consistently over time, the gap's just going to widen and widen and widen and widen and widen, and they won't be able to get that back. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just common sense. I'm like thinking, how can I get an advantage? Oh, start earlier. Yeah, let's do that.
When did you start doing that?
High school. My first class in high school was 7:45. I used to get to the gym around 5 a.m. and I'd play before school, but I'd play during lunch and then practice after. And go home, do my schoolwork, and then watch a bunch of game film and games on TV and study film.
This video illustrates how Kobe's mindset on work ethic is beyond impressive, and he started all of this in high school. As Kobe grew up, he realized the simplicity of improving at basketball. The more hours he practiced compared to his peers, the bigger the gap of improvement would be between him and his peers. It is really that simple. How hard are you willing to work? Here at Next Play Basketball Academy, we've come up with a basic formula for improvement. But when I ask the question, how hard are you willing to work, you really need to be honest with yourself. Let's say a typical high school basketball player practices on their own about 4 hours per week during the off season. Keep in mind that this is on their own. They might have a shooting gun or a rebounder, but this is not a team practice. Let's also keep in mind that this is a solid basketball workout, not just shoot, walk, get your own rebound, and then shoot it again. So if you practice about 4 hours per week, you are willing to work as hard as the guy next to you, no more, no less. If you practice 5 hours per week, then you're willing to work harder than the guy next to you, but that's it. If you work 7 to 8 hours per week, you are passionate about improving your game, and you might be one of the hardest workers on your team. If you're willing to work 10 hours per week, then you are willing to go above and beyond to improve your game. This is the territory that most players won't get to. But if you are willing to put 12 or more hours of good, hard practice in per week, you have the Mamba mentality for a high school basketball player. Let's think about this for a second. The typical high school basketball player will practice 4 hours per week. If you were to practice 12 hours per week, you are practicing 3 times as much as the typical high school player. If you can do this throughout the whole entire off season, just imagine how much better you can be. The number of total hours won't even be close by the time your team starts practicing. Like Kobe, it can be very simple, but keep in mind that these hours you put in need to be real work.
Study film.
How do you develop that, or where do you learn that from?
Well, I think it's just a matter of what's important to you. Mm-hmm. And what's important to you for whatever reason. I felt like I didn't feel good about myself if I wasn't doing everything I could to to be the best version of myself. If I felt like I left anything on the table, it would eat away at me. I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror. Right? So the reason why I can retire now and be completely comfortable about it, because I know that I've done everything I could to be the best basketball player I could be. And so that's where it comes from for me. You can't leave any stone unturned.